What's that? Hey, by the way, while I'm waiting, I want to ask Kavika about your presentation software. Is that just, where'd you get that? Where's that from? I know that's not normal stuff. Where'd you get it?
It's called Prezi.
I'm waiting.
Prezi.
Hold on. What would you say?
Prez is in zebra, Prezi.com.
Prezi.com. Okay. Prezi. Prezi. Okay. I got you. That was beautiful, man. Your
Thank you.
Your stuff was off the chain. You know, it's like, man, I'm gonna have to make a movie. They're just beautiful, and your words were so fitting for our. You see, please, bro. There you go. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Anyway, so we're with this family. Okay, I want you to pay attention. What's the name of the guy that we're dealing with? Who's this rebel?
Qorach?
Yeah, his name is Qorach. Okay, they usually have him as Qorach, right? As a K. But his name is Qorach. Okay, and Qorach means to be bald, bald or baldness. Okay, that's what his name means. All right, in the scriptures, baldness. Somebody tell me, when do you usually have a bald head? When would you be required to go bald?
After you touch the dead body.
Yes, yes. So you go bald, okay? You have to shave all your hair off, all of it, all right? When you touch the dead body, because that you have some sense of uncleanness with you, okay? Also, too, not only from that, but also when you had to be purified from the death, like you said, the dead bodies, right? From death, and also too from Tzatzarat, okay? You'd have to go through that process of shaving all your hair off. Also too, mourning, like to mourn and to grieve, right? You would have to go through this process as well. There was only one family that was not allowed to shave their heads. Somebody tell me who that family is, if you know. Take a guess. Who do you think can't do that?
The Nazarene.
Well, yeah. Oh, that's good. I like the way you said yes. So the Nazarite is the one who would have to shave their head too. Once they finish with their vow, they have to cut their hair off as well. So thank you for bringing that. The family that is not allowed to do this is the family of the Kohanim. Okay. The Kohanim are not to do this. And this is the family of Aaron. So, okay. So the Kohanim are not allowed to cut their hair. Okay. You say, well, where's that at? It's in Leviticus chapter number 21. Okay. And you can begin in verse number 1 and you can all go all the way down to verse number 6. Okay. So 21 is 6. We're not going to go there right now, but I do want you to write that down so you can do your research. They're not allowed to cut their hair for nobody, even if somebody died, because they're not allowed to touch anybody that died. You understand? Except for their mother, their father, except for the high priest. The high priest can't do that. He can't touch his mother or his father. He can't do that. So there's a difference between the Kohanim and the family of Levi as well. Okay, they came from the same family, but Yah has chosen one family. Okay, they come out of the Leviim, right? Meaning to join, as we know, right? So Yah is joining the Leviim, okay, or from the family of the Kohanim, which is Aaron and his sons. Okay, they're the ones that Yah has determined to be kadosh. They're the ones who are set apart. All right. They're the ones who have the anointing holy oil on them. All right. So this week, so far we've read in the last few days, we found out about two in particular families that are tripping. Okay. Somebody tell me, you said it was Qorach is the name of the person who is in question, right? That's Qorach, right? He's the bald guy. He is the leader. What tribe is he from? I'll give you a clue. He's within.
So he's a Kohen.
Yes, he's a Kohath. Okay. This is who he is. He's from this family right here. Okay. So what's his name? Lewi had, from the tribe of Lewi, I'm gonna put it up there right. Lewi had sons. Okay. His first son is Gershom. Okay. His second son is Kohath. Okay. His third son is Merari. All right. And within these families, okay, the Gershom, the Kohaths, and the Meraris, you find that these are all called the Lewiim. All right. Over here, Moshe and Aharon are from one of the sons out of this family right here, the Kohath. Okay. And the Kohath, he had sons. And his first oldest son is Aram. Okay. His second son is called, I think, what's the name of this guy? Yishar. We'll go and look at the genealogy of the sons. But anyway, he had sons too. All right. So Aram is the father of Moshe and Aharon, right? So out of the Kohath family, okay, out of this family right here, get rid of this stuff right here. So I can clear it up so you guys can see. The main family that we're talking about right now is this family right here. Okay. Moshe and Aharon comes out of that in particular branch of the Lewiim. So Yah takes the Moshe and Aharon out of this in particular family because they're all relatives. They're all cousins, well, they didn't call them cousins. They were like brothers. All right. So what we need to understand is the history behind the confrontation. I want you to also recognize that there was another tribe that was involved. What was the name of the other tribe that's involved in this confrontation and this uprising, which you've been identified? What other tribe? Is it Yehuda? Is it Issachar? Is it Shimon? Who is it?
Reuben?
Well, it's Reuben. Reuben. Dan is not involved. Okay. Now I want you guys to trip off of this. I want you to really look carefully at the chart. I put this chart up here because I want you to see the connection. All right. So look at how close these people are between each other. So you got everybody, Kohath and Reuben, on the south side. They're all on the south. Okay. Everybody that's on the south is going to be Reuben, Shimon, and Gad. All right. They're going to be there on that side, on the south. Okay. The Kohaths are positioned on the south side of the tabernacle. Okay. So they're all in close proximity to each other. What did they say when they got told that they weren't going into the land? What did they say they wanted to do? What did they say? They were so mad and angry. They said, we might as well get what? Raise up what? Because we want to go back to Egypt, but we need somebody to take us back. So we're looking for who? Come on, don't be afraid. We want somebody, we need a ruler. We want to raise up a ruler to take us back. That's what they said. You look at your Torah portion in chapter number 14, they said, let's get a ruler and then we're going to raise up and we're getting out of here. You understand? So the ruler that they chose, because we need the story to continue. The story didn't stop last Shabbat. It is continuing. Okay. So they were told that you're not going into the land now. Okay. They were told you're going to be out for 40 years. They were told your children are going to bear the consequences. They were told you're going to die in the wilderness. Okay. And of course they didn't want to accept this. So they said, we might as well put a ruler together. The ruler that they chose was Qorach. Okay. Qorach goes out and he gets 250 men, okay, with him. And these in particular men of great reputation. These are the people that they're not part of Israel's established leadership. They're not part of the establishment, okay? They're outside of this. So he decides that he's going to go get his 250 men, all right? And, from wherever he gets them from, more than likely, he got it from the people that were down in his area, okay? Remember, as Yared had brought out to us, that there's millions of Israel out here. So Qorach comes up and he says, why have you and Aaron take all this upon yourselves? You guys have taken too much upon yourselves. We're here. Isn't Yahweh's people, all of us, holy? Right? And so we're going to read that in a second, but I'm just trying to set the stage. I want you to know the location of where they are in the south. I want you to understand the close proximity between the tribe of Reuven and the tribe of the Kohaths. I want you to understand that Qorach has come as the ruler that they chose. That's who they chose to bring them back. There were some other people that were involved out of the tribe of Reuven. Can somebody please tell me if you can remember? It's okay if you don't. But I'm asking these questions because this would tell us whether or not you're reading your Torah portion. So what's the name of these two other individuals that are involved?
Dathan and Abiram.
Yes, is Dathan. Okay. And the other one is Aviram. Okay. Aviram. Okay. Dathan and Aviram. Off the top of my head, I know Avi means my father and Ram means rises. Okay. Now, these are not young men. Okay. They're not young at all. Okay. Dathan has to do with a spring, like a spring of water, a spring of fountain. Okay. And this guy means my father rises. Okay. It's not on accident that these individuals, okay, with a guy called Qorach, it's not on accident that they're the ones that are chosen to do this. There has to be a reason why these individuals, because as we know when we read in the Torah this week so far, that Moshe went to these individuals. He called out for Dathan and Aviram to come and so he can talk to them, and they refused to come. They refused to come meet him, to talk with him. So he ultimately ends up going to go see them, and he walks over to the south side of the camp to where they are, because this is where they are all living. All right. And these individuals right here are living here too. Right. So what's my other point? Oh, so I hope everyone gets that. I want to show you, I want to share something else with you right quick to give you a little bit more context. Like, why are these people the ones, why are they doing this? And what started this? Has this always been in the making? And the truth is, it's always been there. Okay. So let's do a new share and let's go and find it in, oh, okay, let me do that. Let me share. In Exodus chapter number 6, we'll start in verse number 14. Or I should start in 13. It says, but Yahweh spoke to Moshe and Aharon, and he gave them orders concerning both the people of Israel and Pharaoh, the king of Mizraim, to bring the people of Mizraim out of the land. Prior to this, starting in verse number 1, Yah introduces himself to the children of Israel by his name, Yohei-Wahe, and we'll read that after I read this in verse number 14. it then begins to tell us that were the heads of their families. Okay. What you're going to find here is that they're not going to mention all the families. They're only going to mention a few families. Okay. So the families that they're going to mention right here are the families that are in Mizraim at this time that are in control of the children of Israel. This is their existing leadership. Israel had leadership while they were in Mizraim. They were not just, they were slaves, right? But they had people that were over them, that were assigned over them. All right. So these were the heads of their families. Okay. It's going to tell us who the families are of their families. And when I first read this, I was thinking, well, it should be all 12 tribes. It's not. It's Reuven, the firstborn of Israel. Here's his sons, Konok, Palu, Kesron, and Carmi. That's the families of Reuven. The next son was Shimon. He's the second oldest. Yumuel, Yamin, Ochad, Yakin, Zokar, Shaul, which is the son of a Canaanite woman, which you and I both know that the Torah tells us that they can't marry a Canaanite woman, right? But in this case, they haven't received the instructions that they can't do that yet, all right? So they were already intermingling with these people. These were the families of Shimon. So there's the first son, here's the second son, okay? In terms of their mother, by Leah. Then here's the names of the sons of Levi. Levi is the third oldest, okay? And his descendants were Gershon, Kahath, and Merari. Those are his three sons, okay? Which you and I both saw that Kahath was on the south side. Merari is going to be on the north, and their Gershon is on the west side of the tabernacle situated, right? And it gives you how long, Levi lived. He lived 137 years, okay? Well, what we're focusing on is we're trying to find out why did they not mention any of these other sons? And here it is. They're going to tell us that the sons of Gershon were Livni and Shimni, okay, and their families. The son of Kahath were Avram, which I told you, which is the firstborn. The secondborn is Yitzhar, okay, Kevron, which is the third, and Uziel, which is the fourth, okay. And he tells you Kohath, he lived for 133 years, okay. After that, they give us the breakdown of this. So the first son here, and here's the second son, Kohath, and here's the third son, Merari. So it gives us the genealogy of the three sons of Levi, okay, and who their sons are, okay. Out of the Kohath's sons, out of Aram, we're going to have, and they're going to tell us who it is in a second. I shouldn't skip. Yitzhar, his sons, they're going to tell us who they are as well. I'm not going to get ahead of myself. So it tells you the sons of Merari, which were Machli and Mushi, and these were the families of Levi and their descendants. Interesting enough, these are the only three families that they mention about who they were and who their sons were. Okay. The reason why it's saying this, and only because these are the leaders that were in Mizraim over the children of Israel. When Yah says, go talk to the leaders of the children of Israel and tell them what I said, these are the people that Yah sent Moshe and Aharon to, okay? When we understand the Torah and we understand the relationship between Yah and Moshe, we sometimes forget about Aaron. We don't think about Aharon, okay? Yah sent both Moshe and Aharon, right? When Moshe was out in the wilderness, what did Yah tell him? He says, I'm going to send your brother. Your brother's going to come out here and talk to you. So Aharon is a big piece of this. He's a big piece of this puzzle. When we look in the prophets say Yah has sent Moshe and Aharon and Miriam. So when did Yah choose them? He chose them before they even left Mitzrayim. So the establishment of the family out of one of the sons of Levi was going to be Aram. Yah chose that family, and out of Aram came Moshe, Aharon, and Miriam. So look, and then gives us the backdrop on Aram, and he talks about who he married. He married a woman called Yocheved. Okay, means he is his glory, right? Because that's what Koved means. His father's sister, and she bore to him Aharon and Moshe. Okay, and Aram lived 137 years old. And then it tells you about these sons, the sons of Yitzhar. This is the second oldest of Kahath. Where's it at? This is the second oldest right here. Okay, so Aram is the first, Yitzhar is second. His name means to shine. Okay, and Qorach or Qorach is his son, and Nepheg and Zikri. Zikri means, of course, to remember or to remind. Okay. And Qorach, of course, means baldness, means to mourn. And this other one, Nepheg, I believe, means alliance. Okay. So, and then here's the sons of Uziel, which Mishael, Elisan, and Sitri. When the sons of Aharon were killed, which is Nadav and Abihu, the uncle Uziel was asked to send Mishael and Elisaphan to come and pull their bodies out of the tabernacle area. Okay. So they're giving us the background on this family. This is a very important family. So Aharon married Elisheva, okay, meaning El is 7, the daughter of an oath, and she married Aminadab. Okay, Ami means my people, Nadav means are willing, which is a sister of Nachshon. Nachshon was from the tribe of Judah, or which we would say in Hebrew, Yahuda. So the sister, so Aharon was married to a woman out of this tribe. That's where she was married. And so she had Nadav, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. Those are the sons. And of course, you know, these two sons got killed because of what? What did they get killed for? Why did y'all kill them? You guys
Bringing
remember?
strange fire.
They brought strange fire. And how did they bring it? How did they bring the strange fire?
In the incense, the cess.
They brought it in the incense, yes, and they call that a kotoreth and an incense. So they had censers, okay, and they brought these censers, and what they brought some incense, and on top of this censer, and then also too on a strange what fire. I didn't spell incense right. I don't think I put incense, incense. And they brought strange fire that wasn't from what? Where did they get their fire from? Where did they get it from? They didn't get it from the altar. Yah says that their fire was strange.
Outside the camp.
It was outside the camp. Thank you, Yared. So it was strange. So anything outside the camp and anything that's not prescribed by Yah, it means that it's strange and it's foreign to him. Okay. So the fire that you know you and I would light up right now is foreign. It's strange. And Yah says that if you light anything for me, it has to be the fire that I use to light the altar. Yah lit the altar on fire. Okay. And so in our Torah portion, we see that Yahweh is going to do something with this fire that he's about, right? So let me get back to this. Okay. So then you have these other sons, and it lists here who Qorach's sons were. So the sons, he has sons. So you got Asir, Elkanah, Abiasaph, and these were the Qorachi families. Okay. Okay. And then Eleazar, the son of Aharon, married, and he had a daughter of Putuel, and she bore to him Pinchas. Okay. And then these are the heads of the families of Levi, family by family. Now, I want you guys to understand something.
I already got the set, about 2 minutes.
I want you to understand something. Okay. I'm mentioning this and giving you the backdrop on this because I want you to understand what Moshe literally has done. Okay. When they came to him and they told him that they wanted to take over, they wanted the priesthood, right? What did Moshe tell them that he wanted them to do? What did he say?
Reconsider.
Hey, he said, go get your what? Go get your censers tomorrow. Be here tomorrow with your censers. And when you bring these censers, what do I want you to have in your censers? I want you to put some incense and I want you to light them on fire. So what did Moshe really do?
Set them up.
He set them up, and he set them up for failure or success, Yared.
It was challenge accepted.
He set them up for disaster. Okay. He just set them up to be killed. Who gave the word to tell them to do that? Because he doesn't operate on his own. Who told him to tell them to do that?
Must have been y'all.
It was Yah. So often we don't want to like to think that our creator, because remember when he said this, okay, they fell down. Moshe and Aharon fell on their faces. Okay. They fell on their faces. right? So let me go right here right quick to bring it out. They fell on their faces, okay? So listen, let's read the Torah portion right quick. It says that now Qorach, the son of Yitzhar, which we read who his father is, the son of Quath, the son of Lewi, along with Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, and On, the son of Peleth, the descendants of Reuben, took men and rebelled against Moshe. Okay, so Morah, they rebelled against Moshe. Siding with them were 250 men of Israel, leaders of the community, key members of the council, men of reputation, not the 70 elders, not the 70 elders. These men had another group of council that they were still trying to do their own thing, okay? Yahweh tells us, and I'm sorry that I skipped, but when we left Exodus, my point was trying to let you know that Yah has only, at that time in Mizraim, the people that are mentioned here in our Torah portion are the people that were in leadership when they were there. They were there. And so these political and beneficial relationships they had, positions of authority and power and influence, they were very influential. So that's why it tells us that these men were leaders of the community. They were key members. They were men of reputation. They had great names because they have always been in power. Now what they have done is they have given over to the power of Moshe and Aaron, and things are not turning out the way that they want them to. So now this is literally like a military coup. Like they're saying, we're going to this is a hostile takeover. Okay. So within this, we find that they were there, and I can also prove that here in just a moment, where you'll find out where Yah had told the family of Levi that I chose you while you were in Pharaoh's house. So the Leviim outside of Aharon and the Kohath and them, they were all part of the inner workings of the government of Mizraim. So that's why they were very confident about picking a leader to go back, because they believed that we can go and take the same leaders. Do you remember when things were going bad, and Pharaoh would go off and say, I'm going to increase your labor? What would happen? The leaders of Israel will go and say, oh no, please, what do we do? So they were over the people, right? And so they believed that they had a right, an actual physical right, a leadership right, and a family right to have a position to still hold and maintain control over the children of Israel. Okay. So these in particular individuals, they assembled themselves in verse number 3 against Moshe and Aaron and said to them, you take too much on yourselves. After all, the entire community is holy, every one of them, and Yahweh is among them. So why do you lift yourselves up above Yahweh's assembly? I have a question for you as a community. Is this a true statement? And if so, tell me why. And if not, tell me why. Let's hear some different opinions. We're a family. Let's talk about it. Is everyone in the community of that community holy?
No.
No.
No, they're not. Tell me why.
They're
Why
not
aren't they
even allowed to get into the presence of Yahweh to even be
Thank
holy.
you. Yes. So the ones who are defined to be kadosh, right? Kadosh is to be set apart. Okay. We're trying not to use that word holy because it's not really accurate. We're talking about set apart. So the ones who've been set apart for Yahweh are only out of Aaron's family. That's all. And so if anyone comes and says that they're set apart as holy outside of what Yahweh has said, they're going against what Yahweh says. Moshe has already commanded the children of Israel that Aaron and his sons are the ones that Yah chose. See? So as you know, I often talk about all the time that you and I got to be careful. If we take a registry and say that we're calling in, then what you're doing, this is what's going to happen to people that are playing games with Yah. Okay. And this is the reason why he wrote this. Okay. To remind us, the Torah wasn't written for just for them. This wasn't documented so they can read the story about themselves. This was documented so the descendants of those individuals and that whole entire family can read this in the time to come and know and understand that there's a consequence for turning around and saying something that Yah has not said. They said that this entire community is holy. If that was the case, then all of them would be able to approach Yah. All of them would have been following what Yahweh says. All of them would have been clean. All of them would have been in alignment with what his voice was. So this is not true, because if you didn't follow what Yahweh says and you were set apart, you would be put to death if you made an error. And anybody, as we read in Numbers chapter number 2 and 3, anybody that puts their hands to this work shall be put to death. Okay. And I told you in the previous weeks that the Leviim are not allowed to touch the things that the Kohanim are supposed to do. The Kohanim are not allowed to touch not one curtain. They're not supposed to lift a curtain. They're not supposed to lift a socket. They're not supposed to take down nothing. They are not supposed to touch the altar to lift it. They cannot do that responsibility. So Yah has already said it and established it through Moshe. So, and listen, they said that Yahweh is among them. That's what they're claiming, that Yah's among them and everybody's holy. And this is the mindset that our people still have today, because this is about rebellion. Now listen carefully. It says that, so they're asking, why have you lifted yourselves above? They have never lifted themselves above the congregation. If anything in the assembly, actually they've been among the people. If you notice, their position is not too far away. They're on one side and everyone else is around. Moshe is always there. He always involves. He's always interceding for them. So they don't take recognition to that. And they're also believing that they're going against Moshe and Aharon. When the fact is the Creator is communicating to us that when I talk to Moshe, Moshe is going to be Elohim to the people. Okay. Moshe is going to be like Elohim. And that didn't start when they got into the wilderness. That started when he was called to go ahead and go into Mizraim. He says, you go talk to Pharaoh, you will be my representative and your brother will be a prophet. So every word that I give to you, you're going to be speaking the words that I tell you. Tell your brother what I said. And then he will go ahead and communicate it to the people, because Moshe was like, I got a speech impediment, right? And so this is how it was communicated. This is the reason why Yah has said, you and your brother Aaron come. So when Moshe heard this, he fell on his face, which a lot of times we don't understand about this. And this week, my Isha is going to be talking about falling on your face, okay, which talks about this word called shakak, or excuse me, shakah. It's about falling on your face. The reason why Moshe fell on his face when he heard this is because that was the proper response, because immediately Yahweh began to speak with him. Now, what can we learn from this? Well, as I've been learning, and I want to share with you, anytime that you and I have an opportunity to go before the King of the universe, out of respect for him, you and I should never speak to him, listen to me carefully, without going into a position of being bowed down. You don't ever want to go standing up to him, talking to him like he's our best friend, and treating him like you would treat a stranger or somebody you met at Starbucks, okay? We have to take a different mindset about, and this is, of course, I'm not trying to guilt anybody in this. I've had oftentimes where I prayed in my bed, right? And there's nothing really wrong with that. You pray in your sleep, okay? I'm saying to have the awareness of the power and the majesty that demands someone to fall on their face. If you notice in the last couple of Torah portions, this has been a recurring event. Moshe's falling down on his face, Aaron's falling down on their face, because they understand the majesty of Yah. Then he said to Qorach and his group, in the morning, Yahweh will show who are his and who is the holy person, not the holy in a group, the holy person. He's going to show this, who he will allow to approach him. And of course, it was like you said, Yared, it was about who was able and allowed to approach him. Yah has chosen only one family, only one man to come. And whoever he chose would be what you would call the Kohen HaGadol, okay? And the HaGadol is, sorry, my internet is kind of going to sleep on me. The Gadol means the highest. It means high. It means increased, the greatest. And the greatest one is the one that Yahweh has set above all of his brothers, not for the simple fact that he's elevated because he's just the one he elevates himself. It's the one that Yahweh chooses. Okay. So no one else can come and approach Yah. Okay. Only this one. And how many times do you know that he can come and approach the king of the universe? How many times could he go into that curtain?
Once a year.
He can only go in once a year, and he's atoning for the sins of who?
Israel.
Israel.
And what else is he atoning for?
Himself.
He's atoning for himself. What else is he atoning? What else is he atoning? He got himself. He got the leaders. He got the children of Israel, the sons and daughters. Who else? And what else? What else is he atoning for?
Maybe the land.
He's atoning for, yes, the land, for the blood of the land by doing that. He's atoning the altar. He's atoning the incense altar. He's atoning all the vessels. He's atoning. See? So when some Christian comes up and tells you that who's atoning for your sins, and he said this guy atoned for all the sins, then that would have to be included. If you can't just atone for me, you got to atone for yourself, and you got to atone for, and if he did say that he atoned, I'm talking about Jesus Christos. Jesus Christos was not only supposed to atone for that, but if he did atone, what did he atone in the heavens? They're going to say, well, he atoned in the heavens too. Yah's temple. He's made an atonement there. Come on, this it doesn't make sense. See? So any type of atonement is in a variety of different things that's supposed to be done, not just for our sins, not for only his sins, but for that which has happened on the altar and the incense altar and the vessels and the table. Everything in there, the curtains, every part of that tabernacle had to be atoned for, make a covering for it. Okay. Because of the impurities and the mistakes and the errors that people make. And none of this was intentional. Okay. So what we have here now is that the Qorach is to draw close. Anybody that approaches Yahweh and he calls for him to approach is called either Qorach, meaning to come close and bring something to Yah. He will bring whomever he chooses near to himself. So we have to let Yah choose who he wants. And he says, do this, take your censers, Qorach, and all your group. In the Hebrew, it talks about not his group, it talks about his congregation. It's not a group, it's an actual congregation. What they've developed is a whole nother group, a congregation of that's following this man now. So now it's Moshe, Aharon, and whoever's with them, right? And it's also now Qorach and all the 250 men, along with all the other men of reputation, and along with Dathan and Aviram and everybody that's connected with them, okay? And so he says, go ahead and put fire in those censers, right? And put incense in them before Yahweh tomorrow. Now, if they had any good sense, they would remember. So this is what Yah's using as a sign. So the one whom Yah will choose will be the one who is Kadosh. That's the way Yahweh chooses, right? It is you sons of Levi, who have taken too much upon yourselves. So now that's his way of telling them that it's you're going to find out that you went a little too far here for yourselves. Okay. Is it for you a mere trifle that Elohim of Israel has separated you from the community of Israel to bring you close to himself so that you can do the work in the tabernacle of Elohim of Yahweh and stand before the community serving them? Is this nothing to you? So Yahweh has habdiled, he has separated them from among the children of Israel to have them do a service, but it wasn't sufficient. And they didn't believe it was significant. And often too, sometimes when we're separated to do the things that Yah has asked us to do, a lot of us get a little discouraged because we're not the ones that Yah has chosen to put in certain leadership positions and so forth and so on. We're not the teacher, or we're not this. So we get a little upset and we want to, kind of take over, and we feel like we're holy too. So we have access and we should, all be here. Right. And we're not trying to establish a church. We're not doing any church services. But there are people that are more apt to better to teach than somebody who's not. There's certain people that are drawing closer to Yah that other people are not. Some people take this really serious, and then others who just take it lightly. So would you want a light person to take over and to try to teach and guide? No, you don't want a person like that. You don't want a leader like this guy here, okay, who's thinking that what I'm doing right now is not sufficient and it's not of any value, and I need more than what I'm doing right now. And of course, again, this is another way of presenting an argument or a false pretense, because this was their whole motivation was to take over so they can run and go back to the land of Mizraim. And we're going to find that out by continuing to read here. And so he said, he said, he has brought you close, and all your brothers, the son of Levi, with you. Now you want the office of the Kohen too, because those are their family members. They're like, like brothers, they're cousins. They all grew up together. And here it is now, these two guys are running millions of people, and they're telling all of us what to do. We're more than them. We're stronger than them. There's 250 us and 2 of them. So when we read this, they didn't learn from last week's Torah portion. That didn't mean anything to them, like you're not going to land, because they still believe that Moshe and Aharon are the ones who brought them out there. They never believed that Yahweh was the one who brought them out there. So then Moshe sent and summoned for Dadan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, but they replied, we won't come up. Okay. In my studies over the last few years, there was something that I learned about what they call a chiastic structure, and how things are broken up. It's a structure, and it's called a chiastic structure. You can look it up. It's not hard to explain, but what it is this. I'll try to explain the best way I can. If you notice, and I circled it for you, I circled what I'm talking about. They said we won't come up. And then down here, they follow, we won't come up. This is a chiastic structure. All right. So let me kind of explain it to you. So let's say we can't come up is A. So here's A again. We can't come up. Okay. What's the next thing they said? They said, is it a mere trifle bringing us up from the land flowing with milk and honey? And because this is the report that they're sending back to Moshe. Okay. So if you notice, they said, bringing us up from the land, from a land flowing with milk and honey. Okay. So they mentioned a land, and the land that they're talking about, what land are they talking about right here?
Egypt.
They're talking about Mizraim. Yeah. Okay. So they got Mizraim right here, right? So they're saying that land was full of milk and honey. And they said, you brought us out to kill us in the desert, right? That now you aggregate to yourself the role of a dictator over us. This is not the first time that they ever said that you're trying to dictate over us. When's the first time that someone accused Moshe of trying to dictate and be a ruler over them? When's the first time? Have they ever said that to him? Yes, they said it to him when he saw an Egyptian beating on one of his brothers, and he killed that Egyptian. The next day he went out and he saw his brothers fighting each other, and he asked the one who was beating up the other one, why are you doing this to your brother? And he said, who are you? Are you going to kill us like you did the Egyptian? Who made you the dictator and the ruler over us? And when he found that out, he ran, right? So the second part of this chiastic structure, and let me clean it up a little bit right here, is this land flowing with milk and honey. So let's call the land right here B. Okay. Now you say you haven't at all brought us into the land. And so here it is, flowing with milk and honey. So they thought they were going from one land of milk and honey into another land of milk and honey. So there's another B. So here's the A down here. Come on. Okay, work. Okay, so the A is up here. We won't come. Down here is the A. B right here. Here's another B, right? So if you look at what is the thing that's between we won't come up and bringing us from a land of milk and honey to you haven't brought us into a land of milk and honey and we won't come up. I found that the key issue is this right here. This is the axis right here. The axis of was spinning from 1A to B. So what it is going like this. Let me see. Come on. A, come on. AB, right? And then BA. And what's in between them is right here, the C, which would be the axis. Okay. So a lot of the Torah and the prophets is written in this type of structure called a chiastic structure. So one phrase is mentioned and then is mentioned again. And then what you do is you find out, well, what two things were mentioned exactly the same? Well, what did they have in common? Well, we won't come up was the first time. At the end, they said we won't come up. They mentioned you didn't bring us up from a land of milk and honey. Then they said, you haven't brought us into a land of filled with milk and honey. But what was in between them was you being a dictator over us. So that's how you find out what the story is about and what's the axis of the story, the axis of this particular story with the whole idea of what's going on. It's about Moshe being the ruler. That's what this whole Torah portion is going to be about. Okay. But what they're failing to understand is that Moshe and okay, Moshe is not the ruler. They're not after Aharon. They're not. They're going to use him as the front. What they're really after is this. You have now arrogated to yourself the role of a dictator over us. That's where the problem is. See, so when you understand the Torah and you read these chiastic structures, you'll be able to pinpoint what the issue is. And so when you study this for the next couple of days, this is the thought that needs to be in your mind. Now you are going to arrogate to yourself the role of a dictator over us. Okay? They don't fully understand, and they have never understood. Yah has decided to only talk to Moshe. That's it. When you look at what Yehoshua said when they got over to the other side and defeated their enemies, and Reuven and their family were supposed to go back because they came to fight with their brothers until they got peace. He says, now you guys can go back. You've done what Yahweh had commanded Moshe. It's about always doing what Moshe said, according to what Moshe had said. And that's because our ancestors forgot, okay? They forgot to listen to Yah through Moshe. They don't want to listen to what Moshe says. They think Moshe's talking out of his own head, and he's telling them, no, I'm not. So what can you and I understand from this? We understand. Go ahead, somebody tell me, because I heard you. Go ahead and say it.
It's the same thing today. We need to listen to Moshe.
That's it. So
That's what Malachi tells us.
Mhm.
Malachi.
Remember, yes, remember the Torah of Moshe.
Yeah.
And that's what Yah has, and that's the distinction, and that's the difference between us and everybody else. No one is remembering the Torah of Moshe. They're saying, we're going back to the laws, but also too, we got a Savior. So they talk more about what Paul said, and they talk more about what Peter said, and they talk about what John said, and they talk about Titus and Timotheus, and they talk about Barnabas and Cornelius and all these other people, all the tent makers, the tax collectors. Paul was a tent maker. And then he had a part-time job as a Pharisee. He must have been, and then he spent a lot of time in jail. So I don't know, who was running his tent business when he was locked up. Then he had a side hustle with ministry. I don't know. As a Pharisee, you're a lawyer of the law. So he was a lawyer. He was a tent maker. He was an inmate. And he did some ministry on the side. He was a traveler. He was an evangelist. It's a little side joke. He says, but you haven't at all brought us into the land flowing with milk and honey, right? And you haven't put us, you haven't done this. You haven't done this. You haven't done this for us. Do you think that you gouge out these men's eyes and blind them? We won't come. They're saying all the other millions of people that were out there, okay, because they were having conversations. You can blind them, but we're not blind. We can see. That's what they're saying. We can see through everything you're doing. Okay. And the see is the eyes. And the eyes, okay, check this out. The eyes come from the word, okay, it's ayin, of course, but you got a couple of Hebrew words that have to do with the eyes. The first one is called da'ath. Okay. And da'ath has to do with what you would call knowledge. Okay. Knowledge has to do with this word da'ath, and da'ath is a dalet, and it's an ayin, and then it's over, I think it's another tav here, da'ath, okay? So da'ath has to do with knowledge, okay? Da'ath is a door for the dalet, okay? And the ayin is an eye, so it's the eye of the door. But knowledge is what you would call visual observation, okay? To observe. So what they've been saying is we have clear knowledge that you haven't done anything that you said you were going to do. See, they were thinking they were talking to Moshe. They were not talking to Moshe, because at the whole time they believed that it was Moshe that brought them out. They thought it was him. Okay. So he said, you're not going to blind us. And so Moshe was very angry, and he said to Yahweh, don't accept their grain offering. I haven't taken a donkey from them. Why would he say a donkey? Why do you guys think he said, I haven't taken a donkey from him? What's a donkey? A donkey, it's a beast of burden. Okay. Why would you use, why and when do you use a donkey?
To carry loads, to do
You
work.
got to carry a load, right? So check this out. You're going to carry a load. So a donkey is used to carry loads. A donkey is used to carry a burden. A donkey is for transportation. Is there to bear, right? So he said, I didn't take a donkey from them. I haven't taken anything from them, meaning I haven't done anything to cause my life to be easier. I haven't taken nothing from them to make my life easier. I'm the one who's been bearing the burden of them. This is what he's saying to them. And he says, haven't done anything wrong of them.
Or taking it would increase their burden.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. That's powerful, what you just said.
I haven't
Very
increased their
powerful.
burden at all.
Thank you. So if you take someone's donkey and their beast of burden, you're lightening your load, but meanwhile, you're making their load heavier. So Yah's trying to teach us a lesson, right? Through this, right? So that was excellent. Bigum, Aki. So Moshe said to Qorach, you and your group, your congregation, and he called them your congregation. They belong to him. Be there before Yahweh tomorrow. They and Aharon. Each of you is to take his fire pan, put incense on it. He's setting them up for it to be assassinated. Every one of you bring to Yahweh your fire pans, 250 fire pans. You too, and Aaron. He didn't want him not to come. You show up too. Each one with his fire pan, because he knew that when they did this, all right? So each man took his fire pan, he put fire in it. And what we're going to do is we're going to stop right here where he says they took their fire pan, put fire in, they laid incense, and then they stood at the presence at the entrance of the tent of meeting with Moshe and Aaron. And that was on the following day. So, okay, so we're going to stop here and we're going to marinate, all right? So the points that I want to leave with you today is that the chiastic structure tells us what it's really about. It's about them believing that he has taken a role of a dictator and a ruler over them. And they don't want him to rule over them anymore because they figured his rulership is what caused them to lose the opportunity to go on the land, because that's what they mentioned. They said, you took us out from a land that was flowing milk and honey, and you didn't bring us into a land of milk and honey. So their whole intention wasn't saying, well, you brought us into the land that Yahweh promised us. They just thought they were transitioning out of slavery just to go to another land and be whoever they wanted to be. They didn't understand fully that the transition from leaving Mitzrayim is a transition to become a holy people. And so what we can understand from this, you guys, is that you and I are here to go through a process to be transferred, not out of here, to be who we want to be when we get to our home. If you and I are going to go to the land, you and I are going to have to be wholehearted. If you and I are going to go to the land, and listen, he's coming to get all of his people. So he already told us that all of us are leaving, all of us. Rich, poor, blind, doesn't matter. Does it sick, unsick, doesn't matter. I'm taking every last one of you out of there. But the difference is, he said, I'm going to judge you like I judge your ancestors in the wilderness. Yah's going to do exactly to us what he's done to them. There is no favoritism. So if I hit your parents and I killed them in the wilderness, you really think I have a problem killing you too? I made sure that whoever had contempt and disrespect for me wasn't able to go into the land. And I'm going to tell you the same identical thing.
Yeah.
All because you're the descendants of these people doesn't mean that I'm going to treat you any differently. You're still from the same family. That's why I asked you to say sorry for your ancestors. I love them just as much as I love you. But I'm asking you to be different than your ancestors. I'm asking you to love me wholeheartedly. And I'm giving you the opportunity right now, while you're in the midst of your exile, to make your mind up. Because if you don't want to be ruled by me, it'd be evident in the fact that you'll reject what I told the person I told to tell you. Okay? You're going to reject that. If you reject what the ruler that you say, well, I don't want him to be my ruler, I got somebody else, because the other one says that you could be free and you could kill somebody and not a big deal. It's all good. Well, here it is. Listen what it says. And I think it's important. I went out on a high note, and I want you to understand that it was a reason why Yah has said this to us. When the time arrives that all these things have come upon you, both the blessing and the curse which I presented it to you, and you are there among the nations to which Yahweh your Elohim has driven you. Then at last, you will start thinking about what's happened to you. You will return to Yahweh, your Elohim, and pay attention to what he has said, perfect past tense, which will be exactly what I'm ordering you to do today. You and your children with all your heart and all your being. And at that point, Yahweh, your Elohim, will reverse your exile, and he's going to show you mercy, because remember, that's part of his character. That's part of his attributes. He is merciful. He's full of truth, grace, mercy, and compassion. He will return and gather you from all the peoples to which Yahweh your Elohim has scattered you. That's what he's going to do. And if one of you were scattered to the far ends of East Oakland, he's going to come and get you. If you're in Texas, I'm going to come and get you. If you're in California, I'm going to come and get you. If you're on the coast of Florida, I'm going to come and get you, because Yahweh will gather you even from there. He will go there and get you. He will go there and get you. Yahweh will bring you back. Into the land your ancestors possessed, and you will possess it. And he will make you prosper there. And you will become even more numerous than your ancestors. You understand? If you and I would turn back to Yahweh wholeheartedly. Our Shabbat lesson was on what? Heart failure, fraud, false pretense, fear, okay, and faithless, okay? The way that he talked to them and he dealt with them is exactly the same way he's dealing with you and I. And he's using Moshe. So if we reject what he's saying, we're going to be done. You're going to be exterminated. Because our ancestors chose Moshe to be the leader. You can look at that in Deuteronomy chapter number 18. They chose. Deuteronomy chapter 5. They said, go up for us and we'll listen to whatever he says. You come back and you tell us and we'll do it. And now we're trying to renege on the word that we said. See, you can't help what your parents do. If they put you in this position, sorry. The children of Israel that were the second generation that were out in the wilderness, they had to bear their parents' stupidity for 40 years. You and I have been able to bear it for over hundreds of years. Okay. But Yah has visited us. And Maisha asked me, she said, I really feel like Yah's coming. It's like, yeah, I know. Yah doesn't reveal his name to anybody without having a purpose behind it. Yah has only revealed his name to Yisrael because that's when he's going to come and get us. Because his name means to deliver. His name means mercy. His name means compassion. His name means I will forgive sins and offenses. His name means that I'm slow to anger. I'm very slow. I've been waiting for thousands of years, but there's going to come a day where I'm going to come and get you and I'm going to bring you out. And those of you who insist on not doing what I said, I'm going to put an end to you in the wilderness. And then we won't have this problem no more. Because then you will never, ever, ever exist again. Now you say, well, man, that's kind of deep. It is. Because Yah is the self-existing one. And if you and I don't recognize that he exists and we don't follow what he says, then that means that you and I are saying that he does not exist. If he exists, then you and I have to know that we live within the existence of the creator. And because he said something, you and I need to not show disdain and contempt and loathe what he said and reject what he said. So we have to do exactly what Moshe said, because those were not Moshe's words. They were Yahweh's words that he spoke through Moshe, because we chose that, you see? So Moshe literally, as you've seen over the last couple of weeks, has always interceded on our behalf and said, Yah, don't kill him. Don't wipe him out. Just, and there was something in there too. Yeah, it is. It is. It's like an emotional release, Kavika. It is. See, so we have to take this serious. Our Elohim is a king. He's not just a regular God. He's not the God of the New Testament. So and the people that we're going to continue to read on Thursday, we're going to find out what happens when you say that you're somebody that you're not. Did Moshe say that any other family can be Kohanim? Okay. Anybody that says that they're Kohanim are saying that what Moshe said, what Yah told Moshe, is not true. Because they want to decorate what he said. And guess what that is? It's called contempt. Yah's laws and Yah's words are decrees. There are laws. Do you understand? That govern the heavens. So as a human being, I'm just here to advise. Please just trust me. When you finish the Torah portion this week, you should fully understand. Don't put your hands to nothing that doesn't belong to you. Just stay where you're at and accept the mercy and the grace and compassion and say, we're waiting for you and we're thankful that you remembered us. Any contributions, any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Qorach was of the Kohathite family, and I think that's Leviim, right?
We'll say that again. What's the question?
Qorach was of the family of the
Yes.
Kohathites.
Yeah. Yes. He's from that family.
was
He's
they-
Moshe's and them our first cousin.
Okay, so he was a Leviim.
Yes, he was. Yes.
That being the case, why didn't Qorach catch on to the fact that Moses was setting him up? Because nobody should have been qualified except the sons of Aharon and Aharon himself to present fire in a fire pan before Yah.
Because the thing is like, remember, it said that the children of Israel, after every time he did a miracle or he opened the Red Sea and everything, and they always forget. They always forget what he did. They always forget that he fed them. They always forgot that he would give them water. They always forgot. They just, whatever he did for them, they would forget. They kept, that's why Yah says, you got to continue to talk about what I've done. Only reason why Israel exists is in order to bring honor and glory to Yahweh's name. That's it. And so when we accept that, then our mindset begins to change and we say, okay, well, what am I supposed to do? Well, you and I are supposed to give testimony and be a witness to the world that there's only one Elohim. And we know this because of what he's done for our ancestors. That's why he says, I'm Yahweh who brought you out from the land of Mizraim, from the house of bondage. And it's not on accident. He says it all the time. Those are the first words that he says in the covenant. Those are the first words he says. And he always saying, I am Yahweh, your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Israel. I am Yahweh Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Israel. I'm the one, right? So when we get comfortable and we get complacent with him and we believe that, this belief system that we have, they had to be thinking like, who are these people? So there's jealousy, there's envy, there's strife. There's all these different elements that are part of this, okay? There's a power struggle. There was a power vacuum, right? Like this vacuum was created by the fact that they didn't go into the land, right? So they weren't, like I said last week, they weren't really prepared. They're not prepared to go. So that's why Yah says, okay, now we're going to do a 40-year stint out here so we can get you guys prepared, the next generation to get prepared. Let's see how that works out, right? So they're not ready. This generation, the first generation they're not ready. They're not. And guess what? By the way, they're trying to escape the death that was going to happen to them anyway. They're trying to escape the 40-year punishment judgment. They're trying to find a way out by saying, get a new ruler, because this guy is making declarations to us. Now, praise Yah. Yah never spoke to them. He only spoke to Moshe. So every time Moshe would say something to them, they thought he was saying it. They thought it was chance. They thought it was a magic trick. They didn't understand it. Aharon and Miriam even had to be checked just a few weeks ago, where he said, you guys are talking about him and you're talking about him. Don't you know who he is? And remember, you're talking about millions of people. Now, this is the inner working of a family. This is Miriam and Aharon came against Moshe, right? Then you got these other people that came back with this horrible report about the land. Then you got all these other people who have done some dumb and stupid things. Now you got a group that says, you know what, we're going to take over the leadership. It's only two of them. It's only two of them. It's 250 plus of us. Let's take over. It's only two of them. They didn't believe Yah was with them. Even though they saw Yahweh's cloud and everything, they thought it was a magic show. They thought it was by chance. They didn't recognize Yah's presence. They didn't recognize when Yah said, remember Moshe said last week, he said, you're not going, let's go head back out to see a suit. They were like, no, man. We sinned. We're going up. He said, you're still going to oppose Yahweh's words? Still, after I just told you? Still, you're still going to go against Yah. You won't succeed. And you know what they're pushing for? They're pushing their success, and we're going to make this happen. This man right here is not making it happen for us. We need to make this happen. And that's the attitude today. You got people going back to Domona, Israel, to a desert, okay? Can barely feed themselves and claim and coronate a man as the king of Israel. And when he dies, he's still the king of Israel. I said, do you have descendants? Yeah, but we look at it as his authority is on all of us now. We're the 144,000. And they don't have citizenship, but Yah is with them. Come on. They're an embarrassment to the children of Israel. That's the rebellion that Yah was talking about. See, when Yah doesn't move fast enough for us, we come up with all kind of stuff. See? So, where's no priesthood? So let's establish our own priesthood.
Yeah.
I'm going to call you this and you call me this, and I'll get a nice robe, and then I'll be this. And we'll get the people, make them pay tithes, and we'll call this the sanctuary. And then it's all good. Yah's going to accept this. No, he's not. We're minimizing our king. This is not a game. This is not a game. And we better start taking it serious. And if you need to get rid of these people, listen, tell the people the truth. Tell them the truth. If Yah's not moving fast enough for us, we move ahead of him, and that's our number one problem. Yah has only spoken to Moshe. That's it. Well, did he talk to the prophets? He did not tell the prophets to change anything he said. He told the prophets, if you go to Jeremiah 25, he said the message has always been the same, to return to the Torah. That's it. And that's all. There's nothing else to be added, subtracted, to be done, to sensationalize, to embellish, to to just throw extra on it.
And he
We have
spoke
time for
to
that.
visions and dreams. He didn't speak to them like he did Moses.
He spoke to Yah through mouth to mouth. He spoke to prophets through visions, and he spoke to them through dreams. You understand? He's never given them the Torah. He's never changed it. He never said, I'm going to add to what I said, or I'm going to take away from what I said. I'm telling you guys to go warn them to turn back to what I told Moshe. It was established at Mount Sinai. And now you got these people out here trying to establish their rule in the desert of Dimona. And they're representatives of us now. And we supposed to go, oh, they're people, they're vegans, and they're living the life. They're in a city called peace. But they have no peace. They serve in an Ashkenazi's army, and they can't even get full citizenship. They reneged on the deal. You understand? It's an embarrassment. We need to stop crying about our wound. We need to stop crying about our sins and our crimes, because our ancestors have brought this upon us. Look at our lives and figure out what it is that we need to change and stop playing games. There is no time for us to be playing no church games. We don't need a leader over us. Yah is our leader. You and I don't need no man in exile to tell us nothing. You understand? Well, can you have a teacher? Yes, you can have a teacher. What am I talking about? What am I saying? What are you saying, Dawid? You saying that we should have any teachers or what? What are you saying? I'm saying if anybody's trying to take control over you, you don't want to mess around with them. If somebody's trying to lead you back to some place to get on a plane and leave, when Yah has specifically said, I'm going to come and get you no matter where you are, we got to stop listening to men. Yah says, cursed is the man who put his trust in a man. We got to put our trust in Yah. That's what we got to do. We got to turn back to the Torah. We got to stop playing games. And if somebody said that they're a Levim or Kohanim, you and I need to be bold enough to ask them for registry. I need to see the registry on that. Show me evidence of that and stop playing games. Well, we're acting like we're incompatible. No, show it to me. Nehemiah and them asked for it. They had one. Ezra had a registry. Yah even says that he's going to do a registry for the people who were born in Jerusalem. There's going to be a registry. Do you understand? So let's stop playing games. Let's keep it. If we're in this, let's be in it. And guess what I'm going to tell you? All of us are the children of Israel. So guess what that means? That means that you and I have equal rights to our heritage. That's what that means. That means you have a right to raise your voice and ask a question when it comes to our family. You sure do. You can ask any question you want. That's why I'll always leave it open. Like, hey, why are people not answering questions for people? And sometimes they may have the answer and sometimes you may not. But there is no elevated person and no lower person. We're all on the same ground. We're all waiting to be rescued. We're all the ones who are unclean. We're all profaning Yahweh's name, according to what he said. We're all living in the lands that we're sinning. That's what he says. He says this. We're all missing the spirit of Yah because Yah hasn't given it to us because we're not prepared and prepped to be able to receive the holiness and the kadoshness and the set apartness of our King. So we got to stop playing games. That's what it is. Because you and I are going to see this week that this in particular group of people played games. And they had a desire, and it cost them their lives. And that's for us to know. Okay? Any questions? Contributions? Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Wow.
Hallelujah. All right, you guys. Sorry I kept you extra 20 minutes, but I just got on when I started thinking like, we gotta be out of our mind. This ain't no time to be playing. You know, let's keep it real.